Alright guys, so as you can already tell by the title of the video, I've quit my first ever job in cybersecurity. There's a lot of things I want to cover in this video, and I'm sure you guys will have questions, so I will definitely try to answer them in the comments below. But first things first, in this video, I'll just be going over a little bit into the reasons why I quit. And I know I've done work vlogs on this channel, so I know a lot of you have also been sort of invested in some way into this whole era and start talking about what's next and basically the next stop in my career. Alright, so starting off with a bit of background in my job. So if you guys have been on this channel, you know that I was hired into my company as a rotational program hire. So basically that means that I rotate between different teams. I can share some video links below on the overview of those teams I was on. But basically I've been working in this cybersecurity role for 2.5 years. And my current team, I've been here for about 6 to 7 months. So really not that long at all. But basically I worked at a pretty large company, more than 10,000 employees. So I think that makes it like a larger size company. So I think the very first thing I want to touch on is remote work versus in the office. So if you guys have watched my cybersecurity career Q&A that I posted 1 or 2 months ago, I basically shared that my company wanted me back in the office 5 days a week, and that wasn't really something I wanted for my career anymore. I mean, previous to the pandemic, I was in the office 5 days a week, and so were all of my coworker friends. And actually a lot of my teammates were in the same location as me, but they were kind of like spread across different cities and different states. You know, it was still expected that we went to the office even if we weren't having any in-person meetings, and that was just normal. But now, after working virtual for almost 2 years now, I mean, by the time you see this video, it will probably already be March. And in those 2 years, I realized what I valued in terms of work flexibility, getting to choose where I work, and just having overall more flexibility in whether or not I choose to go back into the office or choose to work from home. So because my company is so large, they weren't really considering at all a remote role. So maybe hybrid would be an option for me down the line, but for the most part it was 5 days in the office. Yeah, that's kind of just the ideal that they want. So yeah, that's definitely one of the first things I want to put out there. One of my big reasons for leaving my role was the fact that I would be working 5 days a week in the office, and that was no longer something I valued or thought was, you know, super necessary for career growth. I mean, some people might really disagree with me and think you have to have that face-to-face contact to build rapport, but I don't necessarily believe that you have to be face-to-face. First of all, no one in my teams really were in the same location as me anyway, so I would just be going into the office and getting on a Zoom meeting or a virtual call anyway. And the next reason for switching really has to do with the work itself. So I do think that I've learned so much in my last 2.5 years in my company, but I also think that because it's such a large company, nothing you do is ever going to impact a whole organization. I mean, it could, but you know, those are kind of like the bigger projects, larger scale, and usually they don't have like people in their early career do those things as much, unless you're kind of just like shadowing a little bit or doing analyst work. In a big company, you're really just someone who does one part and then you hand it off to someone else, and it's really process heavy in that way, and different teams are in charge of different things. Something that I value is being able to constantly learn new things and being able to make an impact with the work that I'm doing. And I'm not saying the work that I did at my company wasn't impactful. It definitely was, but not to the scale that a medium-sized company or a smaller company might expect from someone who is on the cybersecurity team. For example, at a smaller company, if they're still kind of in their early phases, even in my early career, I could be helping inform, providing input to decisions about network architecture, the types of encryption we use, the types of technology we use, what vulnerability scanners we can use. These decisions, they're made by the overall cybersecurity team because it's a smaller team, and it's really like an all hands on deck. Basically wear many different hats, and that's something that I like to do. And that's definitely another thing I've noticed. I hope no one takes this as me bashing on my company or something. I really had a great experience. It just so happens that after 2.5 years, I realized that maybe a smaller to mid-sized company would be a better fit for me, just in terms of the structure, the layout, the work that's done, and how things are carried out. And that kind of brings me into my third point of why I decided to leave. And that is bouncing off the fact that in a smaller company, even a company in the startup phase, you wear a lot of different hats and you get to do a lot of different things. And I am someone who loves doing a lot of different things. And you guys should know that by now, whether it's on this channel or in my career resources or my podcast or my jewelry store. I literally made this necklace. Yeah, basically I like having a lot of projects, and I mean, they don't all have to be cybersecurity related, but I do like juggling a bunch of different things at a time. And in a big company, you are expected to do the role that you were hired for. But if you guys watch my vlogs, you also know that I work on a bunch of other projects like diversity and inclusion. So basically I volunteer with 2 or 3 organizations in my company, and we plan different events, we volunteer and things like that. So those are kind of like all the projects I juggle, as well as with other teams I might try to shadow or I might try to work with them on something. But I find that in a bigger company, you really just do the work that was assigned to you. Or I guess what I'm saying is you're expected to stay in your lane in a way, because you don't want to step on other people's toes if you're doing the work that someone else is doing. Or maybe you're trying to ask someone to learn what they do, but then you don't want to make it seem like you want to learn their skills, and then that may make them less valuable to the team because only they know how to do a certain thing on the team. And I think in a bigger company, there's a lot more bureaucracy, so things are assigned to one person and one person alone. Obviously there's some cross training and stuff, but it's really just one person is the SME or subject matter expert, and the other people, sure, they can learn their processes, but never as much as that person themselves. And I think that culture alone really made me consider, okay, so there's an extent to which I can learn different processes, because I don't want to be the person like, hey, what are you doing now? Oh, so how do you do this when this happens? Or what about this way of improving XYZ? And it really just feels like you're stepping on people's toes. And I'm not saying that like everyone I meet who I wanted to shadow or learn from was like this. I mean, I can't even pinpoint one person who was like this to me. Everyone has been really kind in terms of letting me shadow and learn, but it's just me feeling that boundary, I guess, in terms of my shadowing experience and my work in general, that I wouldn't push those boundaries anyway. Yeah, basically, I hope that makes sense. But I feel like in a smaller company or a startup or a mid company, you're expected to pick things up fast and pick up a lot of things at the same time. And I'm sure work-life balance is going to be a whole nother topic eventually, that maybe I'll cover on this channel as well, and talking about my experience working at a big company with tens of thousands of people versus a smaller company with a few hundred or a few thousand people. I've done so much talking. My throat is super scratchy, and yeah. This video has really just become a bigger company versus a smaller company kind of comparison video. But another quick point I wanted to make before I go into my last thing is that because the company that I worked in had a lot of policies and procedures put in place for certain things, it basically meant that there were layers and layers of approvals to get before you could do certain things as well. So of course, that's not a bad thing. There are reasons those policies were put into place. There are reasons to add in new processes and getting approvals. I'm definitely not saying that you should be apocalyptic and basically just have no policies put in place. But I also think that depending on the project or the technologies that you use, it can take very long to get certain approvals for things or get specific technologies to use. Sorry, this light is shining in my face. Okay, the sun is setting, so it's like becoming really weirdly lighting in here. Also, I try to spruce up the background a little bit, but there's no base. It's literally just flowers leaning against the closet, so yes. But yeah, like I was saying before the sun interrupted me, but yeah, basically I want to use a certain plugin or maybe a library, and sometimes it would just not be approved to use and they just can't use that, or it would take weeks of approvals to get that technology. And by then it's like, oh, we need to move on to the next project, you know? Yeah, that was definitely one of the pain points in terms of just being a developer. And I'm sure that's at any big company, probably even smaller to mid-sized companies too. But I definitely think in bigger companies, it's to a further extent than companies are still growing or, you know, still in their early phases. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to discuss in this video is something that I've also talked about in my career lessons learned video with Luca, and I will also link that below if you guys want to check that out. Yeah, basically the last point that we made in that video was the fact that switching companies gives you more insight into what companies are doing, what the sector is looking like, what roles are out there, what tools and technologies other cybersecurity teams are using, and it just broadens your horizons in terms of your perspective, and it helps you keep pushing yourself to keep learning and keep growing. And I just think that if you feel like you're in a place where you may not be growing as much as you want to, especially in your early to mid-career, you want to be able to learn as much as possible, pick up as many things as possible. And that was something I really valued, because in the long term, I mean, honestly, I don't see myself working in a 9-to-5 job for the rest of my life until retirement, but I do value the skills I learn in my role. And I also think that these skills are transferable into future projects or future career options or career paths I want to choose. And that's why this decision to quit my current role really made sense for me at this point. And I also think that jumping around in your early career also does give you a bit of a bump to your overall salary. I mean, obviously salary is important, and especially in higher cost of living cities. And personally for me, growing up, my parents always made well below the median household income in the US. So when I was looking for a job after I graduated college, I was obviously looking at salaries. I feel like people who say, oh, salary is just a number, like don't chase the money, those are people who had the privilege to not grow up without having as much money. And it's not even the fact that I'm earning money to buy like LV bags or buying a yacht or something, you know? Like this is money for like savings, investments, you know, things for your future. It's honestly something I wish more people were open about. I don't think I've ever shared my salary on this channel, but I do in the future want to make a video on all of the technology, cybersecurity salaries I've had in my early career. And honestly, I'm pretty sure I've signed some NDAs on a salary disclosure, so I don't know if it's something I can openly share, but I will let you know that my first job in cybersecurity, I was making more than the US median household income, and actually a good amount more. So from my perspective, as someone whose parents were both working together, never made even close to the US median household income, and me making significantly, in my opinion, more than the US median household income, that meant a lot to me. So I just want to throw that in there to put this into perspective for you guys. But yeah, next steps. This video is getting really long, so hopefully I can edit down a little bit. Also, I'm looking really red. Okay, there's still like shadows on my face, but I think this is still better than the red that was going on. I'm sure you guys may have already guessed from the comparisons I was making from a bigger company versus a smaller company. I will be moving to a smaller company as a security analyst, and I am so beyond excited. When I submitted my 2-week notice or resignation letter to my manager, I also recorded kind of how I was feeling. So I do plan on including more about that process in my last week of work vlog that will probably come out maybe after this video. But yeah, I will still be working a normal job, but it just so happens that this job is fully remote. Yeah, that's definitely something I'm excited about, and everything else that I included in this video. Obviously I haven't started yet, so I can't share too much about what I will be working on, what I'll be doing on a day-to-day. But obviously there's still confidentiality around the work that I do in my job. So yeah, I'll keep it really high level if I do any work vlogs, but for the most part I will probably stick to these kind of informational videos, and maybe every once in a while I will make a work vlog or a week in my life vlog, just to show you guys high level the things I do as a security analyst. And overall this journey has been really crazy. I still can't believe that I'm starting a new role. I have so much privilege and gratitude for everything. Yeah, I'm just so beyond excited, and I'm so grateful for all of you guys on this channel, just being here on the channel. And another thing that I have been doing on these videos is that I've been setting the speed to 0.9x, so while I'm editing. So I know so many of you guys leave me feedback about, can you slow down with your talking, and let me know if this 0.9 speed helps, because I turned on the thing where you don't change your voice because I watch videos in 2x speed. I like when people talk fast, but obviously I am not everyone in the world, so many people would prefer if I talked slower. So I set the talking speed of the video to 0.9x speed. Let me know if it's still too fast. I think it's barely noticeable, but it definitely makes some difference. Of course, you can also change it to 0.7x speed on the YouTube video player screen. So hopefully it is a little bit slower for you guys. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe and turn on post notifications. I'm so excited to kind of show you guys the rest of my journey and going into my second ever job in cybersecurity. I hope you guys stick around, and I have some exciting stuff coming up this year. So I just can't wait to share all that with you guys. Alright, so that's it from me, and hopefully I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!